I'm a 16-year-old guy who grew up with divorced parents since I was 8. My parents' split wasn't too dramatic compared to other divorces I heard about. They managed to keep things pretty civil and never used me as a pawn in their arguments. Back then, they had agreed to joint custody, so I spent equal time at both houses. My dad lived just 20 minutes away, which made the arrangement work well. My early childhood memories are actually quite pleasant. Even after the divorce, both my parents made efforts to attend my school events and sports games. They would sit separately but always showed up to support me. My mom was a kindergarten teacher and my dad worked in construction. They weren't rich but made enough to give me a comfortable life. Everything changed when my mom met Derek 5 years ago at a school where she was teaching. He was a parent of one of her students and asked her out after his kid moved to a different class. Derek seemed decent at first. He had a good job as an investment banker, dressed well, and appeared to genuinely care about my mom. He made her laugh in ways I hadn't seen since before the divorce. They dated for about 8 months before getting married. The wedding was small but nice. Derek gave a speech about how excited he was to not just gain a wife but also a son. Looking back now, those words feel so fake. My dad was hesitant about Derek at first but tried to be supportive for my sake. He told me later that something about Derek felt off to him, but he couldn't put his finger on what. Within a year of their marriage, my mom got pregnant with my sister Emma. I was actually really excited about being a big brother. When Emma was born, I helped change diapers, feed her, and would spend hours just making her laugh. A year later, they had my brother Lucas. I loved both of them instantly and never thought of them as half-siblings. They were just my little brother and sister who I adored. For the first few years, things were okay. Derek wasn't particularly warm towards me, but he wasn't openly hostile either. He mostly ignored me unless my mom was around. Then about a year ago, his behavior started changing drastically. It began with small comments here and there about my appearance or hobbies. If I wore ripped jeans, he'd make remarks about how I looked like a homeless person. When I played video games, he'd constantly talk about how I was wasting my life and would end up a loser. He criticized everything from my haircut to my taste in music. These comments always came when my mom wasn't within earshot. What made it worse was how he'd act completely different when others were around. In front of my mom or guests, he'd put his arm around me and talk about father-son bonding. But as soon as they left, the psychological torture would begin again. He was smart about it too. He never left any marks or evidence, just constant verbal and emotional abuse. I started dreading going to my mom's house. Every minute there felt like walking on eggshells. I never knew what would set him off or what he'd criticize next. My grades started slipping because I couldn't concentrate on homework when I was there. I developed insomnia and would lie awake at night dreading the next day. I tried telling my mom multiple times about Derek's behavior. But he was a master manipulator. Whenever I brought up specific incidents, he'd twist them around. Like when I told my mom about him calling me worthless, he claimed he was just trying to motivate me to work harder. He convinced her that I was being overly sensitive and rebellious. The breaking point came when Derek started suggesting I was a bad influence on my siblings. He told my mom that my attitude problems might affect Emma and Lucas negatively. He even claimed he caught me teaching Lucas bad words, which was completely false. I would never do anything to harm my siblings. If anything, they were the only bright spot in that house. One particularly bad night, Derek went on a rant about how ungrateful I was. He said my mom should have left me with my dad completely since I was just causing problems in their perfect family. When I started crying, he mocked me for being weak. That night I called my dad sobbing and told him everything. My dad was furious. He wanted to confront Derek immediately, but I begged him not to make things worse. Instead, he offered to let me live with him full time. I was hesitant at first because of my siblings. But after another month of Derek's abuse, I couldn't take it anymore. I warned my mom several times that if things didn't change, I would move out. Derek just smirked when I said this, probably thinking I was bluffing. My mom kept making excuses for him, saying he was just stressed at work or that we needed family counseling. But I knew counseling wouldn't fix someone who didn't think they had a problem. A month ago, I packed all my stuff while Derek was at work and moved to my dad's. My mom cried and pleaded with me to stay, promising things would get better. But I couldn't believe her anymore. She had chosen Derek over me too many times. Living with my dad has been like finally being able to breathe again. My anxiety has decreased significantly, I'm sleeping better, and my grades are improving. My dad gives me space when I need it but is always there to talk. He even helped me set up a proper gaming corner in my room, something Derek always complained about. The only thing breaking my heart is my siblings. Emma and Lucas don't understand why their big brother isn't around anymore. When I visited last week, Emma wrapped her arms around my legs and wouldn't let go. Lucas just kept asking when I was coming home. My mom sends me daily updates about how much they miss me. Yesterday my mom called saying Derek feels terrible about everything and wants me to come back. She said he's realized his mistakes and promises things will be different. But I don't trust him. I think he's just worried about how it looks to others that his stepson chose to leave. My dad says I should trust my gut and reminds me that abusers often promise to change when they lose control. I know my siblings are suffering because of my choice. My mom sent me a video of Emma crying at bedtime asking for me. Lucas apparently carries around a picture of us and shows it to everyone saying his big brother is coming home soon. It absolutely kills me that I can't be there for them, but I also know I can't sacrifice my mental health by going back. Am I the asshole for choosing my own well-being over being there for my siblings? Update 1. After my last post, I got overwhelmed with supportive messages telling me I wasn't wrong for choosing my mental health. Many suggested finding ways to maintain a relationship with my siblings without being around Derek. I spent several days thinking about how to make this work and came up with a plan. I talked to my mom and suggested a schedule where I could be involved in my siblings' lives from a safe distance. She seemed relieved that I wanted to stay connected with Emma and Lucas, so she agreed to my proposals. We set up a routine where I would video call them every other day around bedtime to read stories. Emma particularly loved when I did different voices for characters, and Lucas would always ask to see the pictures in the books up close. I also arranged to pick them up from daycare once a week. The plan was that I would take them to the park or library for a few hours before dropping them back home. I specifically chose times when Derek would be at work, and my mom agreed to this arrangement. For the first 2 weeks, everything went smoothly. My siblings were excited about our new routine, and I felt good about finding a way to be present in their lives. The video calls became something we all looked forward to. Emma would tell me about her day at preschool, showing me her drawings and the new words she learned. Lucas, despite being only 3, would try to read along with me, mostly just repeating the last word of each sentence. It wasn't the same as being there in person, but it was better than nothing. Our park visits were even better. I would help Emma on the swings while Lucas played in the sandbox. We would get ice cream from the truck that always parked nearby, and they would tell me all about their week. Sometimes we would go to the library instead, where I would help Emma pick out books, and Lucas would play with the wooden train set they had there. But last week, everything fell apart. I was at the park with Emma and Lucas, pushing them on the swings, when I saw Derek's car pull into the parking lot. My heart started racing immediately. He walked over with this fake smile plastered on his face, acting like running into us was some happy coincidence. But I knew better. This was planned. Derek started playing the role of caring stepdad perfectly. He suggested we all go get ice cream together, tried to join in our games, and kept making comments about how nice it was to have family time. When I refused to engage with him, his nice guy act started slipping. His smile became more forced, and his eyes got that cold look I remembered so well. When I said we needed to leave, Derek's mask completely dropped. He turned to Emma and Lucas and said, "Your brother doesn't want to spend time with us because he's selfish. He doesn't care about family." Emma started crying immediately, and Lucas just stood there looking confused and scared. It was exactly the kind of manipulation I had tried to protect them from. I quickly gathered their things and took them home, trying to calm Emma down the whole way. When we got there, I confronted my mom about Derek showing up. That's when she admitted she had told him about our schedule. She claimed she did it because Derek kept asking about spending time with all of us together. She said he really wanted to make things right. I felt completely betrayed. The one thing I had asked for was space from Derek, and my mom couldn't even respect that. She tried to defend her actions, saying I needed to be more forgiving and give him another chance. It was the same pattern all over again, her choosing Derek's feelings over my well-being. Things got even worse when I found out through my mom's best friend Sarah what Derek had been saying about me to our extended family. Sarah called me concerned because she had heard Derek telling people at a family gathering that I moved out because I was jealous of my siblings. He painted this picture of me as an entitled teenager who couldn't handle not being the center of attention anymore. According to Sarah, Derek told everyone how he had tried so hard to be a father figure to me, but I rejected all his attempts because I resented him for giving my mom more children. He even suggested that I had been mean to Emma and Lucas out of spite. The worst part was that some family members actually believed him. My Aunt Lisa, who used to be really close to me, now barely speaks to me at family gatherings. My mom's cousins give me these disapproving looks, and I've heard whispers about how I broke my mom's heart by abandoning my family. The fact that these people who have known me my whole life could so easily believe Derek's lies hurts almost as much as the original abuse. My dad is absolutely livid about the whole situation. When he heard about Derek ambushing us at the park and spreading lies, he wanted to go confront him directly. I had to beg him not to make things worse. I know Derek would just twist any confrontation to make himself look like the victim anyway. For now, I've decided to stop the park visits entirely. I can't risk Derek showing up again and manipulating my siblings against me. I'm still doing the video calls, but only when I know for certain he's at work. My mom keeps trying to convince me to resume our outings, promising Derek won't interfere again, but I don't believe her anymore. Emma cried when I told her we couldn't go to the park anymore, and Lucas doesn't understand why we only talk through the computer now. It breaks my heart, but I have to protect myself. I just hope that someday they'll understand why their big brother had to keep his distance. Update 2. I didn't expect to be posting another update so soon, but something happened that completely validated all my fears about Derek. My 13-year-old cousin Jack reached out to me last week through social media. Jack often spends time at my mom's house because his parents both work late, and my mom offered to watch him after school. Jack and I were always close despite the age gap. We both love video games and would often play together when I still lived at my mom's. Derek never seemed to have an issue with Jack before, but apparently that changed after I left. In his message, Jack told me that Derek started treating him similarly to how he treated me. It began with the same pattern: subtle digs when no one else was around, constant criticism of his hobbies, and comments about him being lazy or worthless. Jack said Derek would act completely different when my mom or his parents were present, just like he did with me. What made this situation different was that Jack was smarter than I had been. He started secretly recording Derek on his phone whenever he was alone with him. The recordings he sent me made my blood run cold. I heard Derek telling Jack he was pathetic, that no one really liked him, and that he was just a burden on everyone. In one recording, Derek mocked Jack for crying, calling him a baby just like he used to call me. Hearing those recordings brought back all the anxiety and trauma I experienced. I had panic attacks 2 nights in a row after listening to them. But they also validated everything I had been saying. I wasn't crazy or oversensitive like Derek made me feel. His abuse was real, and now I had proof. I showed the recordings to my dad, and we decided that my mom needed to hear them. We invited her to my dad's house, making sure Derek wouldn't know where she was going. When we played the recordings for her, she finally broke down. She admitted that she had noticed signs of Derek's behavior but kept making excuses because she was afraid of failing at marriage again. My mom cried and apologized for not believing me sooner. She said hearing Derek talk to Jack the same way made her realize this wasn't just teenage rebellion or me being difficult. She promised she would confront Derek and make changes to protect Jack and my siblings. But when she confronted Derek with the recordings, he somehow managed to manipulate the situation again. He claimed Jack and I had planned this together to make him look bad. He said we were troubled teens who didn't like having rules and structure in our lives. He even suggested that maybe Jack was jealous because Derek spent more time with Emma and Lucas than with him. The most frustrating part was watching my mom actually consider his explanation. Despite hearing the abuse with her own ears, she started wondering if maybe Derek had a point. She mentioned how Jack had been acting out lately, probably because of Derek's abuse, and suggested that maybe he and I were just trying to cause problems. Jack's parents were a different story. When they heard the recordings, they immediately pulled Jack out of my mom's house. They were furious that their son had been subjected to emotional abuse while under my mom's care. They also finally understood why I had left and apologized for believing Derek's lies about me. This whole situation has caused a huge rift in our extended family. Some relatives still believe Derek's version of events, while others are now seeing him for who he really is. My Aunt Lisa, who had been cold to me before, called to apologize after hearing about Jack's experience. She said she should have known better than to believe Derek's stories about me. Yesterday, my mom tried calling me to say that Derek wants family counseling. He apparently suggested that Jack and I attend sessions with him to work through our issues. I refused immediately. I know it's just another attempt at manipulation, another way for him to control the narrative and make himself look like the caring parent trying to fix things. The hardest part is knowing that my siblings are still in that house with him. Emma and Lucas are too young to record or report any mistreatment. I worry about how Derek might treat them as they get older, especially if they start showing any signs of defiance like Jack and I did. I've tried talking to my dad about getting full custody of my siblings, but he explained that it would be nearly impossible since Derek hasn't left any physical marks and my mom would have to agree to it. For now, all I can do is maintain my distance and be there for them through our video calls. At least now I know for certain that I'm not crazy. Derek is the problem, and I'm glad I got out when I did. Update 3: After everything that happened with Jack, I made the difficult decision to completely cut contact with my mom's household except for video calls with my siblings. The decision wasn't easy, but seeing how Derek managed to manipulate even recorded evidence of his abuse made me realize nothing would ever change. My dad helped me establish firm boundaries. He now handles all communication with my mom regarding my siblings. We set up specific times for video calls, and my dad makes sure Derek isn't around during these calls. My mom tried arguing against this arrangement at first, but after my dad threatened to get lawyers involved, she agreed. Jack's situation actually caused a ripple effect in our family. His parents shared the recordings with other family members, which led to more people finally seeing through Derek's manipulation. My Aunt Lisa and her husband stopped attending family events at my mom's house. Several cousins who used to hang out there regularly stopped coming over. Even my grandmother, who initially defended Derek, admitted that she had been wrong about him. The isolation seems to be affecting Derek's behavior. My mom's best friend Sarah told me that he's become more controlling at home. He monitors my mom's phone calls and questions her whenever she goes out. Sarah thinks my mom is afraid to leave him but won't admit it. She said my mom has been looking tired and anxious lately. Derek still tries to maintain his perfect stepfather image to outsiders. He posts family photos on social media, showing him playing with Emma and Lucas, captioning them with things like "family is everything" or "blessed to be their dad." It makes me sick knowing the truth behind those smiling photos. Emma and Lucas have started showing signs of stress too. During our video calls, Emma sometimes mentions that Daddy Derek gets angry a lot. Lucas has become quieter, nothing like the chatty 3-year-old he used to be. I've documented everything they tell me, just in case it's needed someday. Last week, my mom tried once again to get me to reconcile with Derek. She showed up at my dad's house unannounced, crying about how our family is falling apart. She said Derek is willing to apologize, attend therapy, whatever it takes. But I saw the fear in her eyes when her phone rang and Derek's name appeared on the screen. I told her I would support her if she ever decided to leave him, but I wouldn't pretend everything was okay just to keep her happy. My dad offered to help her find a lawyer if she wanted one, but she just shook her head and left. The hardest part is knowing my siblings are still in that house with him. But I've realized that destroying myself won't protect them. Instead, I'm focusing on building a stronger relationship with them through our video calls. I make sure they know they can always talk to me about anything. When they're older, I want them to remember that their big brother was always there for them, even if he couldn't be there physically. My dad and I have started researching how to document emotional abuse for future legal purposes. We keep records of everything, screenshots of messages, notes from video calls, anything that might help if things get worse and my mom finally decides to leave. I'm doing much better now. My grades have improved significantly, and I've started playing basketball again, something I'd given up when living with Derek became too stressful. Sometimes I feel guilty about leaving my siblings behind, but then I remember what my dad always says, you can't help others if you're drowning yourself. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I made the right choice in leaving. Sometimes protecting yourself means making hard decisions, and that's okay.